964 is on finding X and Y intercepts. You'll find them from a graph, and you'll find them algebraically. You also have to graph X and Y intercepts. An X-intercept is basically where the line crosses the X-axis, also known as your horizontal axis. And the Y-intercept would be obviously the B value that we've talked about. It's where it crosses the Y-axis, also known as your vertical intercept. Example 1, we need to sketch the graph of each line using the intercepts. So it's telling us that the X-intercept is 3 and the Y-intercept is 3. When you make your graph, don't just make a big T. Figure out, alright, what area or what quadrants do I really need in my graph? So I need where X is 3 and Y is 3. So my graph should look something similar to this. As you notice, I didn't make just a big T for my coordinate plane. I'm dealing with the points that I need. So then I would go ahead and plot my points. Well, my X-intercept is 3. There's my plot for 3. And my Y-intercept is also 3. So there's my plot there. Now I need to go ahead and draw a nice long linear line through those points. Notice again, I didn't just connect the 2 points. I drew a nice long linear line with arrows going both directions, showing that my line goes both directions forever. Next example, again, note what you need to get to here. We need our Y-intercept to get to 2 and our X-intercept getting to -1. So I would probably make my graph something similar to this. I know -1 is my X and 2 is my Y. So make your graph something similar to that, and then you'd go ahead and plot your 2 points that you have there. So my X-intercept is -1. There's my plot. My Y-intercept is 2. There's my plot. And again, use a straight edge and construct that linear line through those plots. So my graph would look something similar to that with my X and my Y-intercept. Example 3, you're going to actually have to figure out your X and Y-intercept. So in order to do this, there's a little box there on your paper that's telling you how to find X and Y-intercepts algebraically. In order to do this, to find the X-intercept, you're going to put 0 in for Y and solve for X. So you're getting rid of your Y value to solve for X, hence your X-intercept. To find your Y-intercept, put 0 in for X. So you're getting rid of X to solve for Y. Then you'll have your 2 intercepts, and then you can graph like you did in example 1 and 2. I'm going to start off by finding my X-intercept first. My X-intercept, as mentioned above, you put 0 in for Y. Here's that original equation. So I put in 0 for Y here. Here's my Y value to find out my X-intercept. So I just plugged in 0 there. Now I need to get X alone. Just solve equations. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. After I add 1 to both sides, I have 1 equals -3x. Now I need to get x by itself, so I would divide by -3. And when I divide by -3, I get -1/3 equals x. So your X-intercept is -1/3. Now you need to go ahead and find the Y-intercept. The Y-intercept, as mentioned above, you're going to put 0 in for X. So here's my Y-intercept. Put 0 in for X. So I have Y equals -3 in for X is 0 minus 1. Solve your equation. Y equals -3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 1 is -1. So this is your Y-intercept. And again, this equation here, you could actually pull it right out. You wouldn't have to do anything algebraically. Why can you pull it right out? Because it is in slope-intercept form. Y is by itself, and we know -1 is our B value. So now you can go ahead and graph. And I'm going to plot my X-intercept. My X-intercept, where it crosses my X-intercept, is -1/3. -1/3 is just slightly below -1/2. And your Y-intercept is -1. So there's my 2 plots. And then use a straight edge to construct your linear line. As you notice here, the line is decreasing. Well, another thing you can double check is look over here. Your slope is -3, so therefore it should be decreasing. Example 4, same thing. Plug your values in for x and y as mentioned above. So in order to find that x-intercept, you're going to put 0 in for y. We want to leave x to find that intercept. I'm going to put 0 in for y and solve. I get 3x equals -6. Divide by 3 to both sides, and I find out that my x-intercept is -2. So then go ahead and figure out the y-intercept. In order to figure out the y-intercept, you put 0 in for x. So here is x, substitute that in, and I get -2y equals -6. Get y alone, divide by -2, divide by -2, and the y-intercept equals 3. And as mentioned, well, and if we look up here, we couldn't pull that out right away. The reason why, y is not by itself, so we don't know our y-intercept, so we would actually have to convert to do that. But now that I have my two intercepts, I can go ahead and graph. My x-intercept is -2, so here's -2 for x, and my y-intercept is 3. There's my plots. Construct the linear line, and I have them graphed just like so. Example 5 and 6 are a little bit different. Remember, this equation here is already in slope-intercept form. That says x equals 5. So this is telling us that it crosses x-axis at 5, your x-axis at 5. So when it crosses an x-axis, the line is going to be vertical. So it would look like this. If I drew my graph on here, it's crossing the x-axis at 5, so make sure I get to 5. This being our x-axis at 5, so from my origin I'm going to move over 5 units here, and here's where it would be, where x equals 5. Now it's crossing the x-axis, so the line has to be vertical. So there is my line. So basically, if you think about it, your x-intercept is 5. Your y-intercept is none. It does not have a y-intercept. Very similar to example 6, except in 6 it's telling us our y-intercept is -5. So my y at -5 would be right here on my graph. That's where it's crossing the y-axis, and if it's crossing the y-axis, the line will be horizontal. So there's my line graphed, and then I'm going to go ahead and state my intercept. My y-intercept there is -5. My x-intercept is none. Does not have an x-intercept. Last example here, example 7, we have y equals 2x. If you look at this, actually this is in slope-intercept form, so I should be able to pull up my b value. My b value, or my y-intercept, is not present, so therefore it would be 0. A way to check that is you could actually solve it, which would be in order to figure out your y-intercept, you're going to put in 0 for x. So I put in 0 here, and it even states that y equals 0. So that's one way, two ways I could figure that out. Now I'm going to go ahead and figure out the x-intercept. The x-intercept says, well, in order to figure out your x-intercept, you have to input 0 in for y. So there's y equals 2x. So I have 0 equals 2x. Get x by itself, and I divide both of them there, and I have x equals 0. So both my x and my y-intercept are 0. So there's a little bit of a problem here when you graph this, and I'll show you. When you have your coordinate plane and you graph here, your intercepts, your x and y intercept, this is where it's going to cross. Well, they both cross right there at that point. That's where x is 0 and where y is 0. Well, your line could go in multiple infinite directions here, and so which way does it go? Well, this is what you need to do, is take this original equation, y equals 2x, pull out your slope and your intercept. So your intercept is 0, and your slope is 2. So when you have your slope, you can use your slope to get a second point, and that's going to tell you the direction of the line. Well, it's increasing, And your slope is really 2, also known as 2 over 1. So your rise is 2. So I'm going to go up 2 units. And 1 spot to the right, we know the line is increasing. Now I have 2 points. Now I can draw that linear line on my graph here. So I would look something very similar to that. This will conclude 9-6.4 finding X and Y intercepts.